Hello, YouTube. We are on episode 6 of Cardboard Cynics. That is a half dozen episodes that, if you took the under, you have already lost. It is what it is. I can't say it's the longest running episodic, but it is, the cynical podcast that apparently people need. Your favorite people. And off the top, before I introduce Dan and get us started, I do want to recommend. I'll start this right from the beginning of the episode. If you do enjoy what you hear, number one, we love to hear your comments. We appreciate that in the comment section. It bounces back and forth between myself and Dan's channel. There will be a playlist available to it. If you do want to hear the audio version, there's a podcast feed. Links in the description to all the above. To a lot of the things we're going to talk about, we will include links in the description as well. So if there's something that's cited, there's a good chance there's a link for it in the description. You're welcome to check that out. And the other thing we recommend is if you do like what you're hearing, share it with others. That is the best way it spreads around. We'd love to see the episodes continue to go forward. And we also like to hear people to hear it. It's here to see it. Whether you like it or don't like it, whether you agree or disagree, we'd still like you to hear it and at least give us your opinion. So Dan, how are you?
I had to use two hands. We're on number 6. I don't know what I'm going to do when we get to number 11. I mean, can I raise my foot up? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
At that point, we're
just. But how are you this evening, sir? I am in a good mood. I had several people this week ask me, when are you and Carlos recording again? So, there's a groundswell of interest, which I'm pretty excited about.
Well, we have to have some interest, Dan, after, I'm out here trying to be a man of peace, and we're there are some happenings in the background. Like, we're trying to make sure that people stay inside of our organizations. We don't want to set people down the wrong path, Dan. I'm trying to lead by example. Being a man of peace is all I'm saying.
Yeah, had a bit of a rocky road, but we're on smooth sailing now, so we're all good.
All right, sounds fair. That's why I just want to make sure everyone, for the record, if you hear any rumors, I had nothing to do with it. I was being good. I haven't done or said anything to anybody, at least lately. At least 10 days since the last time Carlos said something horrible that made somebody mad, at least for the moment, pending. So anyway, we'll go back and forth on our cynical and our things to be cheerful for. So Dan, I believe since you are the away team this time around, do you want to start us off on the cynicism?
Well, I mean, it's going to be kind of a running theme throughout the show. But we did it with the hobby. We did it again, and it happened on Sunday. And it was, I guess it started with Brian Gray on Twitter having some ridiculous tweet about how this earth-shattering news. I can't say anything now, but it's so big, it's so awesome, and worlds are gonna go crazy. And of course, then Sports Card Nonsense put up a preview to their live stream that was going to happen at 9 a.m. on Monday. It was going to be serious. And, you and I had a text exchange, and I think we both agreed that it was probably going to just be a big, I'm not going to use the N-burger word because I'm sick of it, but that it was just going to be a big letdown. And that people were doing that whole thing where like, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I can't tell you what it is now, but it's going to be amazing. It just, it gets you a lot of clicks and stuff the night before. But in the end, it's disappointing because, you just have a bit of a perspective. And then good old Big Bri went on Professor's show on, I guess it was Tuesday night, and tried to kind of pull back from what he had promised, and it was not good. But my reason to be cynical is that the hobby never learns that people who say there's big news coming but I can't tell you now are usually full of it. So that's my cynical, and I know you have more to say on this. And just what we're talking about, of course, is that there were at least 30 arbitration claims filed by Paul Lesko, the hobby attorney. I'll talk about Paul in glowing terms later on, but just he did this thing, and I think it's a good thing that he did, but it's important to keep in perspective that what he did has limitations, and legally speaking is not this big thing that's going to turn the hobby upside down. So, the people who want everyone to believe that this news is the biggest thing ever are kind of full of it. So anyway, I'll turn the microphone to you, sir.
Mhm. So we are going to touch on this in a couple different ways, but one of the ways that I am going to touch on it, as not surprisingly, it's become a recurring theme. I will touch on this from a cynical perspective, but I will also touch on it from a cheerful perspective because praise the content gods
Yes.
as always. There's multiple ways of looking at these things. I think though, if you guys have been watching some of these episodes, you'll see that part of the reason I can do that is because not everything is clear cut. Sometimes there is it more or less depends on your perspective. How you want to look at it is going to very much color the way that you're going to see a lot of these stories. And sometimes there's a little bit of both. Sometimes the answer is yes, there is a cynical element to it, but there's also kind of like, this is kind of funny. If you really think about it from a certain perspective, there's a lot of times, a lot of these hobby stories, sometimes it is kind of funny in its own way. But what I wanted to focus on first, that actually is still part of that same story, is I called it the desperation of having someone else save us in the hobby. And this is a bad habit that we're in here. And it was played out a little bit for that. Again, we'll come back around to the whole overplaying this thing for what it was. It is still a story. It's still worthy of discussion. It's still worthy of consideration. It's not that it's nothing there, but we needed it to be this. It suddenly needed to be this thing that was going to fix everything. And my pushback here is that yes, there are tons, and I emphasize this. I want to make sure I give this the preface, Dan. Otherwise, people are going to start arguing with me right away. The preface is there are tons of things in this hobby that need fixing. There are tons of things that need correction. There are a lot of bad actors who we would love to get out of here, and it would be a better place if we did. But being a realistic person, I understand that you're not going to be able to tackle all these issues in one shot. At best, even if we could, the likelihood is we're not going to be able to do that. However, the desperation, especially from people that are not stakeholders, and I want to emphasize this, some of the people that are clamoring the loudest to try to fix everything are the ones who, the same ones. If we talk about Whatnot, we talk about repacks, we talk about the gambling elements to it and everything, will be the very first people that will be the ones to tell you, well, I never participate in breaks, I always buy singles, I never do any of those things and any of those. And I'm sitting there like, well, then how does this impact you? Because I was talking to Dan before we hit record, and I said, look, I am 100% in favor. If you can find and put together the package of things that are going to rectify some of these things, that's a good thing. There is nothing bad that I will say about that. But I'm going to point something out to you. If I snap Whatnot out of existence, if I get rid of repackers, if I get rid of breakers, it doesn't actually change my collecting process because most of the stuff that I'm doing is not really heavily impacted by it. I won't say that it is not impacted. There is downstream impacts.
Yeah.
I had to really reach. I did this on a live. I had to really reach, Dan. I found a couple of tiny scenarios, some very edge cases where it could be beneficial getting rid of a couple of these things. But Dan, it was minimal. Like the impact was just a smidgen. So it's like, it's not going to be a life-changing thing for me one way or the other. So if Whatnot is still here tomorrow, my life doesn't change. If they're gone tomorrow, my life doesn't change. The point is, why are we sitting here desperately hoping, some people ask for regulation and they're hoping that's going to save you. Well, there's downsides to that too. And that sometimes be careful what you wish for. Other people were hoping that this would be a more expansive thing. Well, in the course of, we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. But Lesko made very clear when he was discussing it that his clients had very specific things they were hoping to get out of this because the reason they didn't go after everybody in creation is because their main issues with Whatnot. Whatnot was the platform they happened to be doing business on where they were having these issues. If it had been Fanatics Live, then it would have been Fanatics Live instead. But in this case, if I'm not affected by Fanatics Live and Whatnot is my problem, do I need my attorney then focusing his attention on Fanatics Live and trying to fix the entire hobby in some kind of a lawsuit? Or do I need you to try to help me with my specific issue? And you can speak to that piece.
Yeah, I will. In the good section, I'm going to speak about that because there are definite limitations here, and some of which were chosen by Paul and his clients.
Yes,
and some of which, as not the attorney on the case, I think that there were other options that were open to them, and we'll talk about that later. But I think we've covered it from the cynical end that the hobby. The hobby expects a lot more from these things, and they have to be more. The hobby has to be more realistic about what this means, and I'll get into that a little bit.
All right, sounds good. So before I shift over to the second one for you, I'll just say as a last thought on this, my thing is stop being desperate for these things. Kind of proceed along with your own hobby. Like it is a little bit sad, Dan. It's a little bit sad seeing it does come off desperate. At this point, you know what? Just assume that nobody is coming to save you today. Let's just assume for the sake of conversation they're not coming. Let's hope that some of these things that are able to give positive movement towards better things, but don't expect it tomorrow. And in the meantime, then you should probably evaluate how your hobby, if your hobby is much more impacted by these things, then maybe you need to consider how you're going to approach it. That should be where you need to take some action for yourself now. Take your own action. That way you can try to solve some of your own problems if you happen to have them, if this stuff impacts you. And if it doesn't impact you, then find something else to fixate on and let the process play into it. Unless if you're really that desperate for it, then file the suit yourself. Stop waiting for everybody else to do it. Like if you think it's so important, then call your own lawyer, file the suit, and hey, we'll support you. We'll get the pom poms. We'll root you on. But in the meantime, go do it yourself if it's that important to you. Otherwise, let the process take the timeline that it's going to take.
Yep.
Now that's it. So for the second one here, we got to talk about Fanatics Overloads. Speaking of, we got to talk some Cy Young. I'll bring it up on the screen, Dan. Why don't you set us up? Tell us what are we looking at here as I share it on the screen.
So Topps has a history going back to the very first set of doing really bonehead things. But this one, to me, was really, really big and really a reason to be super cynical about Topps, because this is some sort of huge cut signature case hit, 2022 Series 2, was found and it was a big deal and blah, 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 blah. The problem is this is a really bad fake Cy Young autograph. And if you owned a Cy Young autograph that was real and you hit this in a box, it would be huge. The problem is that Topps didn't do. I mean, I don't know who authenticated this. The reason I found this on Twitter is because Steve Grad basically said this isn't even close to being correct. This is a ridiculous fake. It's not even close. And he's like an expert and all that stuff. And then people were showing it. I don't know if you can scroll down a little bit. Like one of the first or second comments on this is
So I'm not on X. I'll try to see if I can open it up, but yeah, it won't let me do it since I'm not on X.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. People did show very clearly real Cy Young autographs, and they're much more sort of angular, and you can tell like the Y is completely different. The G has like an angular thing on it. So does the Y in Cy of Cy Young. So I mean, it's just a completely absurd, terrible fake, embarrassing. And Topps, it's not like they faked, a Joe Schmo's autograph or it was a bad autograph of, some mid-level guy. This is like a top of the line is he a first ballot Hall of Famer or the first Hall of Fame?
I think he was part of the first class.
He might have been second class. He's either first or second class, but he's like, they named the pitcher award after him.
Yeah.
It's like, and this autograph, if it was done, is at least, I mean, he died in like the 50s. He lived a long time. But the point is, an extremely valuable item if it's real. But if it's fake like this, it's worthless. And Topps to put this in a product and call it a real autograph is just mind-blowingly stupid and really negligent. And, to be cynical about Topps is easy these days, but the prices and the hits and the quality and stuff, but this is a real screw up by them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me close that off here. So one of those things, and Steve Grad is actually a fun callback because he started to do stuff on his own YouTube channel as well. He started to, so it'll be interesting to see if he ends up doing some more conversations about stuff like that down the road. But just it's something worth coming back to, because Steve Grad obviously has been around the hobby a long time. He is an interesting character in it, as a lot of people are. A lot of people that have been around the hobby a long time, there's a lot of interesting characters. But he does have a lot of interesting things to say because he has been around the block a long time, working for the different companies. So let me move on here. My second one that I wanted to include this week was hobby companies. So playing into the same kind of concept here. Hobby companies continue to learn nothing on the communication side of things. So I was specifically focusing in on, obviously, before we got into the whole Whatnot piece at the beginning of it, it was COMC continuing to focus on the wrong things. And so the community, I went over it during my live stream, and obviously I poked fun at it. I had some fun with it because it was enjoyable for me. But the emphasis for them was on, here's how much we've improved our turnaround time on our tickets. Here's what we've done in this. But at the same time, they also threw out a lot of old tickets. So it's a little bit easier to get caught up if you just ignore, I got a pile of work. Let me just shove the pile off the table. And hey, my pile is empty. I cleared it. I'd love to pull that off. Like, I don't think my bosses in my previous jobs would have let me get away with that one, but that is a way to clear the pile. And they would only reluctantly accept the existing issues. They downplayed how problematic they were. And then they announced a price increase. So you did like one of the things, and there's no realistic timeline for resolving it, the backlog. There's no realistic timeline for the shipping issues. And at the same time, you're only now looking to hire a director of kind of communication and customer satisfaction. I forget the verbiage used, but this is a role that would be somebody, like, clearly you need someone doing this type of role. And the fact that you didn't have one, and included in this is you telling us that you're hiring somebody to do that. So basically you're filling in as a customer. I don't care about who you're hiring. I don't care about how you've improved the turnaround time on tickets. And we had this problem. So I'll actually, for fun, I was able to find, Dan, my old video criticizing COMC for the nearly identical thing back in the heady days of 2021. And if you play it from about 5 minutes on and just pretend it's 2026, you will be horrified how close it is to what we're discussing today and the way they were communicating. This is 4 or 5 years ago. So Carlos from the past will regale us with an almost identical situation from back then where they did not learn a lot. Dan, they don't learn. They never learn anything. Nothing ever changes. And here we are. I was a lot more seething back then, Dan. I did not have the sunny disposition in my exasperation. I just don't have the energy for it anymore. I just don't. Now I cackle like the $1 Million Man and find ways to amuse myself. But I got to tell you, back then I was seething because I was quite irritated with it. That is why I have lost a lot of my anger towards this, Dan, because we do not learn. We do not learn. And I have already heard this song, and I heard it the first time, and this is just somebody doing a cover, but it's the same band doing the cover of the same song. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, I remember that back in that time frame. And as I've said to you before, COMC to me is not part of my collecting. I don't buy from them. The only time I've ever bought from them was like they have a YouTube presence. Not YouTube, what am I talking about? They have an eBay presence, and sometimes they sell on eBay. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I bought from them was not because they were, COMC. It's just that was a product that I wanted at the time. So I've never actually dealt with COMC at all. So I don't really know, but I do follow the sort of news, hearing it. And I do remember that back in 2021, they had a huge backlog and all that stuff. But you should link to your old video because I'll go back and watch it. I'd like to watch.
I saw it and I was sitting there like, man, I was young back then. I remember that. It was a good time. Yes.
So my number 3 is not cynical. It's sad, very sad. And I was driving home from being out of state, and I got a message that there was some really, really sad news in the vintage card hobby. A gentleman by the name known as RevSteve or Stephen Miller has been on YouTube for about a year. I didn't really know him that well. I knew that he had been on 4 Collectors. He was on John's 5 Card Show, and generally speaking, all around good guy that was friendly and friends with guys that I know. So I know he was a good guy, and all accounts are that he was a good guy. And he passed away suddenly. Come to learn that it was a heart attack. His wife wrote a nice message about him. Unsurprisingly, a very loving husband, a very loving father, 4 children, 4 brothers. A real sort of lesson in the hobby that we're all human beings. Life is too short, and terrible things like this happen. And I just wanted to sort of point this out that like I said, we're all people. And we're all mortals, and things like this happen, and it's terrible. And what I did see is, our friend from the basement, Keith, Lonely Basement Baseball Cards, had a nice video on it, and he linked to a GoFundMe page. We're going to link in the description here to the GoFundMe, what I really like to see is that I was in the GoFundMe today. The It's at 91%. Now it's up to, well, I think that's an old screenshot. It's up to 91%. And I feel like, is it?
Yeah, right now I've got it there in front of me. Either
Oh,
way, I'll link it to you. I've opened it up
oh,
just a
oh,
moment
oh,
ago,
they,
so I can
they
refresh.
moved, they moved the goal up. Okay, so that's, oh, it's a K. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah,
a Canadian. They give you Canadian. Sorry. Anyway, I saw 91% today. I mean, I went down through the list of donors to see, and as you would expect, a lot of our vintage brethren were in there donating, and just his family must be going through about the worst time that you could possibly go through, and to have people, give them the financial support because they need to. I think I just stopped there for a second. What I wanted to say is his family need the financial support for just basic things, and nobody ever plans for something like this. And I've gone through this not with my contemporaries but my parents, and there's always money that needs to be set aside for these things. And if his family can get through this at least financially, then they can work on healing through it. So there was an obituary that his brother put up also, which says basically the same things about him that I'm saying. So it's a sad time in the hobby, particularly the vintage hobby, and the folks that knew him. And I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I wish I knew him better. I'm sorry for my friends who did know him better. And I'm sorry, obviously, for his family and, of course, for his kids. That's got to be devastating. But let's donate to the GoFundMe. Let's get it to 100%, and at least give the family that they don't have to worry about money, at least for now. So not a cynical thing, a sad thing, and a real downer. But it's part of the hobby. It's part of life. And I just wanted to talk about Steve a little bit during this episode.
sure, absolutely. So I wasn't too familiar with him, but at the same time, as someone who is kind of his contemporary, because age-wise, we're actually pretty close, just
Yeah.
from what I understand. So it is a sobering thing, something to think about, in sense of you're not guaranteed tomorrow. That's something that I've heard a couple of people mention, which is true. That's definitely an
Okay.
accurate statement. So, and I think that is a worthwhile takeaway. And we will include a link to the GoFundMe. We will include a link to the obituary as well if you would like to read it. So we'll include a link to both those things. They'll be in the description, so you can check them out for yourself. Now, I'm not going to do a hard pivot. That's kind of a it would be a little awkward, but
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
but we will talk about something that is a little bit of cynical. It does have kind of a humorous side to it. It's a little bit of both. So we'll try to kind of uplift this last section, even though it is under the cynical section. And that is this. It is speaking of the hobby's reliance on a small set of experts for high profile collectibles. Now, what I'm referring to with this is obviously a lot of people complain about PSA and a lot of the third party graders and their inconsistency and all this. What I'm actually talking about is not that. What I'm referring to is things more along the lines of authenticating unopened material. And speaking of Steve Hart, and it's one of those things where Steve Hart has been in the business a long time. And we actually had conversations about this. Again, kind of here's another callback. We talked about this quite a bit during the controversy surrounding the Logan Paul. Again, another name that comes up. Isn't it weird how all the same names come up all the time? It's kind of the same names over and over again. It's weird. Even though it's not directly related to them, somehow it's 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's weird. But anyway, so during the $3.5 million Pokemon case that Logan Paul had procured, along with the assistance of Shine, again, names coming up over and over again. Weird how that works. But the person who authenticated the case at the time was Steve Hart of Baseball Card Exchange. Now, let me explain why specifically I've decided, other than the humorous element that will come into play in a moment, aside from that, there is a specific reason I brought this up. And it was actually Bobby who sent this to me. So I figured I would talk about it now, and we'll talk about it a bit on Friday. But I want to lead with the conversation now. This is a posting from the Baseball Card Exchange, I think on their Facebook. BBCE authentication temporarily pausing. So I'll read it to you, and then I'll explain how it plays into this conversation. BBC will be temporarily pausing our unopened authentication service as we take time to review and strengthen the program. Over the years, demand for unopened material has grown significantly. The workload has become difficult to maintain without sacrificing efficiency, morale, and turning that should be a flowing process into a miserable experience. By the way, there's some key words here: morale and miserable experience. We'll get to that in a second. This pause allows for a reset of expectations, workflows, and capacity so the service can function properly rather than reactively. Taking time to reassess and stabilize ensures the standards for turnaround time are sufficient and further burnout doesn't ensue. Again, I'm going to emphasize certain words here in a moment, and I'll explain why they're pertinent here. This decision prioritizes long-term sustainability, accuracy, and the overall health of the operation. All material currently in-house will be completed as we are able to process it. The cutoff date for accepting further shipments will be this Friday, March the 20th. Packages postmarked by this date will be accepted. Packages postmarked after this date will be refused and returned to the carrier that shipped them. This decision will not affect our authentication service for PSA packs, which will continue as usual. So a couple of specific notes that I want to emphasize here. The reason why a lot of those terms, the burnout and all that, the thing is Steve Hart, unless something is fundamentally changed, Steve Hart kind of has a hand in in a lot of it. Not necessarily everything, but it's one of those things where he is kind of the name behind the brand in this case. When we say baseball card exchange, we're pretty much talking about Steve Hart. That's who we're referring to. And they do the unopened wax packs for PSA, which is one angle of what they do, but they also do the unopened boxes. They do the BBCE wrap that adds, when there was that Wayne Gretzky 79 O-Pee-Chee case, it was BBCE wrap. All the individual boxes were BBCE wrapped. So the whole sealed case came with the certification of baseball card exchange. So there is millions of dollars tied into these things, but it's pretty much hinged upon the word of one man. So people can complain about PSA, they can complain about all these things, but imagine, Dan, if it wasn't just, it was Dave at PSA. He was the guy. If something happens to Dave, we're doomed. It's pretty much all in. If you listen to the verbiage I read, if you have a team, how does a team burn out? How does a team suffer morale? How does a team get overwhelmed? No, it's not a team. It's Steve. It's Steve. So in the commemoration, so this is an entire segment. There is, and just getting away from the jokes for a second, there's an entire section of the hobby, auction houses and all this, that are super reliant because some of the more rarer material in these BBCE wrappings can fetch tremendous amounts. Like there are some people sitting on stockpiles of millions of dollars worth of unopened wax that is hinged on the opinion of one man, one individual. So it's kind of critical. And in that thought, Dan, I thought it'd be fun to go in the Wayback Machine. I'd like to go back in time to a simpler time, the heady days of January 2022. I'd like to remember them as they were. I'd like to talk about that $3.5 million Logan Paul case. And for reference on this, Dan, I get to go to the Logan Paul channel. I bet y'all didn't think I was going to get there, but we're gonna play a clip of this for you because I need you to see it. And I'm going to pause just before one of my favorite moments in hobby history. So I think let's enjoy this. So this is a cynical Dan, but it's also kind of honestly a cheerful. It's a little bit of both for me. So I sped it up slightly so that it goes through a little quicker. I don't necessarily want to play it in regular speed, but I want you to listen though. Listen to what is being said. Okay. So just hang in there.
The guys from BBCE who authenticated it are here to basically stamp their authentication. If this is fake, we're all in trouble because it looks so good. If there's first edition packs in there, we're gold. The case value of this is going to double, triple.
It would legitimately be verifiably 100% the only sealed case in the world. That is 100% real.
You're from BBCE?
Yeah, I'm the owner.
You're the owner of BBCE, and you authenticated this?
Yes, me and Michael are going to go over.
I just want you to know. So here is Steve before the misery. Steve before the burnout. Steve in simpler times. Look at how vibrant Steve is. He's excited. He's ready. All right, he's about to tell us, Dan. He's not going to give us all the secrets, but he's about to tell us a little bit about the intricacies of Pokemon case authentication. If you're ready for this.
When it came to my office that day, what I looked at, and then we're going to speak back and forth about why we like the seals. If it's good, it's worth a lot more than the 3.5 now.
In this case,
I hope it's real.
Back in March of this year, in my office, they asked for my opinion. Outside of this case had been tampered with, played with, reproduced in any way. You can see in this piece of seal that was put on there by Wizards of the Coast that this tape is aged onto this case. This label too, the same embedded lines of cardboard from age are in that label.
there's no evidence of tampering.
One edge would look different anyway. Yep. I did my diligence just like I do for a sports case.
Yes. All right. I like where that's going though.
Sorry, really. I mean, come on. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Wait, hold on.
Okay, that's a good sign. What?
Why are they so puffy? They're puffy though. See how they're shaped all?
They don't look right.
Don't look right.
They don't look
Oh, it gets better.
See how they're like they're curvy and
They're
bumpy.
very light. They don't look right. Okay, let's get it going. Let's open more.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. That should look good.
Oh no! Oh no! Why is it bending like that? Why is it bending like that? What's inside of him?
Dude.
Mother.
Before I continue, Steve's face contorting is one of my favorite things about this. I'm sitting there trying not. I remember playing this bit, and I even put together a supercut during a live stream for this day. And this is one of the first instances where I did this. It's actually on my Instagram. I have a supercut. I'll link you guys to the supercut about this that I used back then. But all right, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna pause one more time, but in a moment because the gold is about to hit us. Here we go.
It's fake, bro. It's fake.
Move.
Hold on. It's up in a box.
Oh yeah, right.
Look at this bullshit.
Why doesn't this one say first edition on it?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't ask that question, Steve. Bad question.
Like this. Oh my god. Oh my god. G.I. Joe? G.I. Joe? G.I. Joe. It could have been anything else.
So first of all, G.I. Joe, it could have been anything else, is one of my favorite lines uttered in the history of YouTube. That is first. And again, in my supercut, I had a little fun with this. But now, in a moment, Steve is about to hit us. In this moment, Dan, your credibility has been brought into question. You went through this whole bit about how you had evaluated the sanctity of the tape and all this bullshit that you were making up and blah, 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 and the side of the cardboard box, evaluating the glory of the cardboard box. Okay. And this, you're about to, in this moment, we need wise, sage words, Dan. We need reassuring words. And we're about to get them. Here we go.
We all got to do. Agreed?
No, we do not agree. We do not agree that we all got duped. One person got duped. Everybody else just went with you. Went with you. Everybody else just went with you. It was one. It's Dan. I can't even tell you how much I laughed at the time. And I gotta be honest, watching it again, like, hold on, Dan, this is normally again not the venue for the show, but we're gonna do it anyway. It might be cynical, but I could argue that's cheerful. I am very cheerful at this moment.
You know, at the time, and we're going back now 4 years.
Now, so this
I
was,
I was a lot more angry than I was laughing that I am now, because I knew that this guy, like you said before, was the guy that authenticated all of the sealed product in the entire hobby, that had labels on it and his tape on it and PSA was in all of it. And that he was, you know, I don't, you probably remember this. What happened right after this is he put out a big message on Twitter saying, we're taking a break. We're going to reassess. Very similar wording to what came out this week.
Yep. And
I knew, and you knew too, we talked about this before we even hit record, that everybody who had that you know, sealed product with his stamp on it had a financial motivation not to take this guy down, that he was not going to get taken down because nobody was going to, people had too much money invested in his word to be able to take him down. And that was what was ultimately proven correct. And here we are now again, 4 years later, and he's taking a break out of burnout. And I wonder, is something going to fall? Is another, what do they call it? Another axe going to fall at this point?
Shoot a drop.
Yeah,
It
drop.
could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I'll be honest with you. It wouldn't shock me though. Like, again, it would not shock me. Nothing would shock me at this point. However, it also wouldn't shock me if legitimately, with the sheer volume of amount, as the dollars have gone up on a lot of these things, it wouldn't shock me. Again, I would be very surprised if he has a team, but I would be shocked if the team is the one doing all the authenticating, if not a lot of it is being, this is not a very scalable business. So really, just so let me take a moment just to give a little bit of seriousness on this. We covered it quite a bit at the time. And Bobby, who
Yeah.
has quite a bit of understanding in the world, because he dealt with Steve Hart, he dealt with Mark Murphy, if anybody remembers that in the wax pack world as well. He had
Yeah.
dealings with them, and he has quite a bit of understanding on seal boxes and packs and things like that. And we talked about it all the way back then. Again, you're welcome to go scan the archives of the channel around that time period. If you go beginning of 2022, that's about when you're going to find that. And what you're going to discover is we had a discussion because I asked Bobby at the time. I figured it was a good educational piece since Bobby had the background. We could talk about it. And people asked, would you consider doing something like? The problem is there aren't really any competitors in that space because no one else really wants to take it on. And the reason why, and part of the reason that Bobby mentioned that he wouldn't want to take that on, is because you can't really authenticate those things. What you can do is you can use knowledge and expertise of certain things to be able to find red flags. What you're looking for is telltale signs of tampering. You're looking for things that are wrong that based on the experience that you're able to gather. It was done a certain way, like an 86 top Fleer wax pack. There is a sequencing. So if a card looks like the wrong kind of card is in the wrong spot or whatever, if you open a pack and the sequencing is wrong, you know that there's a really good possibility that somebody has tampered with it or moved cards around or done whatever.
Right.
These are the things that you can learn. So you can find that out. You can learn that. You can learn what the sequencing is, and that in turn lets you increase the likelihood that it has not been tampered with. But notice I didn't say definitively say, I said increase the likelihood. You can say, hey, there are no telltale signs, nothing obvious to me, based on what I understand, that this has been messed with, that these packs look appropriate. It looks like they haven't been broken. It's like looking at the old vending boxes and looking at some of the sets. And if you remember some of the old vending boxes, Dan, the cards would almost have a pattern because it was cut in a certain way. So Dan, if you know that and you look at it, you could say, okay, that looks uninterrupted. That looks like it has not been disturbed. Therefore, there is a better likelihood that this vending box has been unmolested. That doesn't mean 100% guaranteed for sure, no doubt, but it means there's a good chance that nobody's messed with this because it looks appropriate for what it should be.
I think the part of this business that can be scaled is that 95% of the sealed product is not worth enough time to put into trying to fake it. It's the same thing with cards. There's not, most of the cards that even the vintage cards that I have, they're real because nobody's putting the time in to fake them. Nobody's, reprinting 70 tops or whatever. So in reality, you have at least 95% chance that the stuff is going to be good. And so he's probably scaling, he probably has a lot of his staff doing the easier stuff, but he's got to do the hard stuff. And he's got to do, like you said, the stuff that's really worth a lot of money. And that's got to be some pressure. But again, remember, right after this, there was the 2022 National where I think it was Golden opened up a case of 86 Fleer basketball. And it was pretty clearly not.
Yeah. And the packs were funky
recycled.
Because of the sequencing that I was talking about.
The sequencing was wrong. The Jordans, there were 4 Jordans in there, but the quality was not high enough. Some of them looked worn. So, he authenticated another fake box that was worth millions of dollars. So that's the problem. And, like I said, it's possible that this is a preemptive taking a break. Whereas after this happened, he went on and took another break. So we'll see what happens. But it's an interesting thing. And, is it a reason to be cynical? Absolutely, because there should be more people doing this. And we know why there aren't, but there should be more people doing this. There's money to be made doing this. The guy has, a fairly successful and probably lucrative business, but at what price, his sanity.
Yeah, I just think that we've come to the point, and that was the reason why I wanted to bring it up for twofold, because number one, it gave us an excuse to play that wonderful video, the glorious video. It was beautiful, magnificent. I got so much mileage out of that meme. We got duped, agreed was one of my favorite things to show on the live stream back then. And Dan, I milked that thing for months. So anyway, it was good. It was a good memory to go back and rethink about. So anyway, the other thought of it, though, the other portion of it is that, this is one section of the hobby that there is a lot of money invested into, but it is almost entirely reliant on one guy. Just imagine. That's a really dangerous tipping point, because I'm sure even if there isn't another shoe to drop, I'm sure at some point Steve is going to want to step away from this. So who takes over at that? Like nobody else seems to want it. Like I said, Bobby is somebody who at least has the understanding and expertise to be able, at least for hockey, he has a lot of understanding of what should be and shouldn't be and all that.
Oh,
but he
yeah,
wants
that's the
nothing
other
to do with
thing.
it.
At the time, if I recall correctly, there were people in the Pokemon world who said before this video even happened that they thought that this was fake. And I think one of them
Rattle
was
one.
Rattle Pokemon.
Yep. He had a series about
who pointed out a number of different reasons why this box was probably fake. And I think that was when Rattle Pokemon and Logan Paul were on good terms. He wasn't threatening to sue him.
That's
because he was utilizing his knowledge to learn certain things about the product. But so I mean, that's what it should be. It should be broken down into people who have expertise in certain areas. Bobby would be an example of somebody who would be hockey. Rattle Pokemon would be somebody who would be doing Pokemon. I mean, not those people individually, but like people like that. And there's people who know baseball, who know what the baseball boxes should look like. And it's a part of the hobby that I'm not terribly familiar with, but it's certainly a part of the hobby where I think there are people out there with expertise that it could be broken down so that it's not just one guy, one flawed, very flawed individual making these huge financial decisions.
Absolutely. But I do think one thing that's kind of ironic about it is that even in Rattle's coverage, which he did a very good job back then. I remember those videos because that's actually, I think this was the specific thing that got Rattle that helped his channel take off. It was this series and the kind of fallout and everything related to it that really helped his channel build up originally. The thing is, even though he went into details about why he thought that the car, he explained though, key verbiage here, going back to verbiage, he was explaining why he thought that the box had been taken. He gave his reasons. He gave his rationale. He researched it, and it was well done. And it turned out he was correct. But even in that instance, Dan, he wasn't being definitive. And that's why I say this particular category is so difficult. I wouldn't want to try to portray myself as an expert in any category here, because it is your best bet. If you got a good batting average, then you're better than 99.9% of people. But imagine, Dan, and here's kind of the hobby's issue that comes in everything else we've talked about in the past, previous episodes in this one. Even with that uncertainty, even with what I just said a moment ago, that even the best experts are going to get it wrong just because of how difficult it is.
Yeah.
People are dumping a lot of money. They're still willing to pay 6 and 7 figures on some of these boxes. And I go, guys, you're still taking a chance. It's not that he's not that he doesn't know what he's doing. It's that he can still get things wrong. He can do his best and still get it wrong.
And the things that he's going to get wrong are going to be the big ones, because those are the things that people are going to fake. Yeah. They're not going to fake the little ones. So that's when he makes a mistake, and when somebody gets a fake over on him, it's going to be a big thing. And the 2 times that we know of, the Pokemon box and the 86 Fleer box, those are 6 to 7 figure boxes. Well, the Pokemon box was what, 3 million?
It was 3.5. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah, and I think the 86 Fleer box had to be over $1 million. So I mean, you're talking
the
7 digits.
Fleer is a little bit less, only because there's still a lot of them out there. A case would be for sure. Yeah, but individual boxes would be 200,000 or 300,000 each. But still a ton of money. Like still a crazy amount. Yeah. But the biggest issue was the amount of money that people would put into these things, even with those uncertainties. And I'm like, well, guys, like, you're playing around. And here's the irony, Dan. Even however many, we'll never know how many he got wrong, because some of those boxes are too expensive to ever open, because the only way you'll be and Bobby and I had this discussion back then. The only way, Dan, that you can be 100% sure is to open the box.
Yeah. You got to get Jeff. Jeff opens that stuff all the time.
Absolutely, an expert. But the thing is, but imagine though, Dan, if you paid $1 million for the sealed box, and for all anybody knows, the box is good, but the only way you can be 100% sure is to open it, and the stuff you're going to pull out of it is not going to be worth a fraction. Like, even if you pull amazing cards, like you're even if they're in great condition, they're probably not good enough condition to make up the difference.
That's part of the reason I don't really know much about sealed product, is because I don't have any of it, because every time I see a sealed product, I open it because I want to see what's in it. I'm a
And that-
card collector, not
but
a
that's the
box
irony,
collector.
Dan. The more
Yeah.
expensive the box gets, the less likely we will ever find out if it's good, because it
Yeah.
would require you'd have to really have a lot of fortitude to pay that much and then open it.
Yeah. So he's probably been wrong many of times. We just don't know.
Entirely possible.
Oh, well.
We have no way of knowing. So Dan, tell us to be honest, I was kind of cheerful at the tail end of that. I was quite cheerful, but what is your first specific reason to be cheerful? Give us some cheer.
So my reason to be cheerful is that Paul Lesko has done a good thing. Paul Lesko is a good guy. I know him. I'm not friends with him. He's been on my show. I've talked to him. I met him at the National in Cleveland. Good guy, excellent attorney. I have nothing but good things to say about him, and he's done a good thing here. He's put Whatnot on the defensive, and if Whatnot is doing the things that he says that they are doing, and he seems to have proof of that, then he's, more power to him. Like Paul, respect Paul, think he's a great attorney, and all of that prefaced with things could have been done differently. Now, let's bear in mind what he didn't do here. He did not bring an injunction. He didn't bring a class action. He's not a government employee. He's not bringing government action. It's not even a lawsuit. He's brought arbitration proceedings because, and he said this on the interviews, because the terms of service of Whatnot that the customers click on and approve require all disputes are to be litigated through arbitration, and the choice of forum, the choice of law is California. So he's gone by the terms of service, and that's why it's arbitration. There is an argument to be made that the terms of service are invalid, and the law is, generally speaking, that terms of service are invalid if the service itself is illegal. And the service itself, in this case, if you're arguing that it is gambling and it is against the law what they're doing, then the terms of service themselves should be invalid. And you should be able to go after them in a courtroom. And there is somebody doing that. There's somebody who sued Whatnot in Utah State Court. It was transferred, or what's the word for it? Sent to federal court. I forget the word for it, but it was sent to federal court. And now what's being litigated is whether it should be sent to California and whether it should become arbitration. So what Paul did was not put his clients in a position where they would have to litigate that preliminary issue, but instead just went straight to it. And that's, again, Paul doesn't represent the hobby. He doesn't represent you and I. He doesn't represent himself. He doesn't represent the greater good. He represents clients. And those clients have interests. And the best thing, the best people to determine what those interests are Paul and his clients. So they've decided to go at it through this particular way and not fight the terms of service. And that's obviously their decision to be made. The actual effect, though, of the fact that these are going to arbitration is less so than if you had gone to, let's say, a class action or even just a lawsuit. And so the case is not going to be heard by a judge sitting in a courtroom. It's going to be heard in an office by a person who may at one point have been a judge, but it's going to be an arbitrator. There's no legal precedent to what's going to happen. There are no court decisions that have legal precedent. It's arbitration. And so in that sense, what's going to happen here is not going to change the hobby. It's going to affect Paul's clients' financial. It hopefully will be to their financial benefit, that Whatnot will eventually give them money, or at least give them part of what they're seeking. And I think if Paul's the way that he's going about this is going to have any effect, it's simply by the numbers. If 30 people get paid out, then it's another 60 people get paid out, then it's hundreds of people get paid out. Ultimately, that's going to put pressure on Whatnot. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But there could be a financial motivation for Whatnot to change their policies, and that would be something that we would want. Whether it's going to happen or not, it's not going to be court. There's not going to be a court direction for them to change. It's going to be their own financial motivation to change. And is that going to happen? Maybe. But at least I think Paul has done a good thing here. And I am cheerful that at least somebody is gone on the offensive against a place like Whatnot. Hopefully someday Arena Club will get sued and Fanatics will get sued, and all of this stuff will all of the dirty part of the hobby will clean up a little bit. But that's a pipe dream. At this point, it's just 30 clients going to arbitration with a good lawyer, and hopefully they'll get money out of Whatnot, and we'll see what happens. But I have at least some cheerfulness from that.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And that kind of goes back to the conversation we had a few minutes ago. And the key piece of what you were just talking about and laying out is that for Paul's Lesko's instance, for what he's doing right now, is his job is to represent his client's interests. And ultimately, the reason the focus was on Whatnot is because that's the platform that they specifically have an issue with. They can cite specific examples and specific. So they're using a lot of the issues that are happening to kind of point to, hey, Whatnot failed to take care of these things. They created the platform that allowed for these things to happen this way, and they gave specific instances. So Fanatics and all these other platforms, yes, we can point to examples and issues on all these other platforms, but Whatnot has left themselves very open to it because we can cite infinite, seemingly, number of examples of problems and issues, and so can Paul Lesko. So now he can use all these things combined with his client's specific issues, specific grievances, and say, hey, and ultimately it's not the client's job to fix the hobby either. That's why, if you remember earlier in this conversation, I said people were fixating so much. They were putting all of their hopes and dreams into like, oh, this will fix. Well, maybe it will. Maybe it will be a step along the way. Maybe it's a domino that then leads to another domino. But even if it does, it's not going to change life today. It's not going to be this instantaneous resolution to all the hobby's ills. And that's asking quite a bit because the clients are not necessarily looking to fix the hobby. They're looking to get made whole for what they feel was taken from them.
Yeah. And like I said, Paul has an obligation, and his primary obligation in any legal proceeding is to his client. And, obviously within the ethics of his profession, also my profession, to follow the law and to follow it ethically. And he's going to do it, and I'm sure he will, to handle these cases well. But again, the effect of what it's going to be on the hobby is not to be determined at this point, but certainly has been overblown. But still, I feel good about this because I think it's the right person doing it the right way in these circumstances. And I think that ultimately something may come of it, but it's going to take a while. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's fair.
I'm cheerful about it.
And I too am cheerful in the praise the content gods kind of way, because we laid the groundwork at the beginning of the show, and let me tell you, I took advantage of it fully. Now, it was actually very amusing to me. One of the key elements that I played into on my channel, and then ultimately in the live stream that I did on Monday. So real quick, I'll just share on the screen there while Dan's being chased down by the feds. You can hear the siren in the background. So just to let you know here, I had on the channel, I literally put this on the Sunday, and it was breaking news. Well, ... sort of ... eventually ... check back tomorrow. So I was having fun with this. The point was, because by this point we had the sports card nonsense thumbnail that was all dramatic breaking news, and all. This is literally spoofing off of their breaking, but I added in the sort of eventually check back tomorrow because there was an embargo. And it did lead though to having a lot of fun with the comments section, and it was very instructive though. And I mentioned that on the live stream I did, because again, you could see the hopes and dreams of people, because some people were going grandiose. They were going, and I'm like, if it's that big, I don't think you put it behind an embargo necessarily, because if you've got this gigantic story, then somebody's going to want to just spill the beans and get on with it. They could have just as easily told this to us on Sunday and not waited to do the media rounds. From Paul Lesko's perspective, it's good for him to kind of, all right, now he's lining up a bunch of conversations with folks one after another, but it was made it, and it also gave Big Bri the chance. Again, I question how many people outside of us mockingly or himself actually call him Big Bri in his day-to-day life, but bless him. But it gave him every opportunity to run around X, where to anyone who would listen to him, explaining how this was huge. Couple of quick side notes that I want to make mention of. One of them is Brian Gray, the same Brian Gray that earlier this month was on the Sports Card Dad channel as an expert Whatnot seller. That is not a joke. That's not a joke. So the same person who's telling us how significant this is and how this is potentially changing. I just want to, for the record, Dan, let the record state that Brian Gray sees the same videos that we see of talking about all the ills and issues of the world of Whatnot. And by the way, Paul Lesko, I played my clip where I said cesspool 4 times within about 8 seconds. So I lay claim to the sheer volume of cesspooliness in references to the Whatnot platform. But the point is that no, this isn't new. And the specific one that I cited was from middle of last year. That was only one instance. We talked about Whatnot. I said on one of the first episodes of this, we could literally have a Whatnot scammy seller, questionable thing, scummy thing of the week, and we would never run out. We wouldn't even come close to running out.
There's an entire channel that does that.
It's inexhaustible. Like, it's a limitless supply for you to go into. The point, though, is that most of us knew this already, including Brian Gray, and yet Brian Gray had no problem being on that platform. And now all of a sudden he's having second thoughts, and now he wants to go on another platform. I'm like, where was your moral outrage to this before? That Paul Lesko needed to get into arbitration for now what, Dan, now Whatnot is not an acceptable platform for Brian Gray to have his brand on. It was like 3 weeks ago he was on Dustin's show talking about being a Whatnot seller. That's not a joke. This is not a drill. It was this month that I'm speaking to you in. I can't make this up, Dan. I can't. I'm trying, but I can't. The truth is stranger than fiction. I can't make it up.
I didn't think we were going to talk about Dustin at all on this episode.
Listen.
Dustin in again.
Dustin is getting I am referring to Dustin as a reference for Big Bry because Big Bry was on his channel talking about this. So there you go. And it is appropriate. And I am using it in the way it needs to fit. I would link it to his video. Actually, I will link it to his video so you guys can check it out. And literally, Brian Gray is talking about being a Whatnot seller. That is not a joke. That is literally right on there. So the next time Brian Gray tells us about how he loathes this badness that Whatnot has brought upon us and how shameful it is, and I'm sitting there like, really, sir? You really? Dan, this is why I'm cheerful. This is one amongst many reasons why I'm cheerful.
So one thing that I find amusing is that people, Whatnot, put out a statement, and people are up in arms about this terrible statement by Whatnot. I'm like, okay, let me just talk about the way the system works in this country. Paul Lesko is a great attorney, but you know what he also is? He's an advocate. He's an advocate for his clients. So he's going to present his case the best way he can when he goes on media like Sports Card Nonsense or other channels. Mm-hmm. And so is Paul the most objective person in this scenario? No, he's not. He shouldn't be. He's an advocate. He has a side. But another side of this is Whatnot. And Whatnot has a side. They haven't answered any legal papers as far as I know. They haven't, gone to the arbitration proceedings yet, as far as I know, but they put out a statement, and their statement is going to say the opposite of what the adversary is saying. So that's what happens in this world. So if you think Paul's is a good guy and everything, yeah, great. If you believe in his case, great. But Whatnot has the right to challenge it, and that's what they're doing. So to go like completely insane over Whatnot's statement, I think is kind of humorous in a way and gives me cheerfulness in some ways, but it makes me a little cynical in other ways. But you were talking about the comments section on some of these videos, and I'm always amused by how little people actually know about these things and the kinds of things that the kind of comments that people make. And, this is a class action that's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. No, it's not.
Well, I think, but Dan, doesn't it go back though to what I said earlier in the cynical section? I'm saying, and look, there are lots of times, Dan, where I am going to be very flippant about it, and I'm going to kind of poke fun at it for the sake of poking fun. So if you pay attention now, I'm changing my tone slightly because I really want to make sure people hear what I'm saying here. I am not picking on the collective for it. I think a lot of them do mean well, and they actually would like the hobby to be better if they would like it. The problem is transferring your eagerness, and again, I say this truthfully, what comes off very much as desperation to be like, we need this one fix that is going to rule them all and fix everything. The reality is, even if the hobby is ever to be fixed, and again, I question that. I am more on the cynical side, hence the name of the show. But if it was ever to happen, Dan, it's going to have to be piecemeal. You're going to have to win. You're not going to win the war in one shot.
Yep.
You're going to have to fight skirmishes in all these different things and win them. You're going to have to win it a block at a time. It's not gonna be an overnight thing. There is no one lawsuit. There is no one government regulator. There is no one specific cataclysmic event that is going to magically fix everything when there's too many stakeholders that are enjoying the status quo just fine. And to close off the thought real quick, and that includes, by the way, Paul Lesko's clients, because ultimately what it comes down to is Paul's success or failure is going to be based on his ability to get his clients at least feeling like they were made whole in this situation. And if Whynot comes in, I'm just throwing one hypothetical scenario because there's the extremes. There's Whynot's lawyers crush him and he gets nothing. Not likely. But then there's the ultimate extreme on the other end. He gets everything he wants, and it's the first step towards collecting utopia. Probably not. That's also not super likely. The truth is probably going to be somewhere in between. In the course of that arbitration, they're going to try to find that middle. But then Whynot at some point is probably going to say, and this is my speculation, just based on business, how many zeros I'm going to have put on this check to make you guys be like, all right, fine, we're good. We'll sign off on this. Because even if they don't get all those other things they're asking for, by the way, they should ask for the moon and the stars. They should ask for gambling restriction elements to fix this. They should ask for that. They should be asking for all these things because I think Whynot has failed to guard their platform or even follow their existing terms of service and rules. I think they failed to do that. So they should ask for all those things because they're failing to do it. But ultimately, if his clients get made whole for what they feel has been taken from them and they walk away from this thing, I'm not going to look bad at them for it because that ultimately is what they were looking to get out of it.
Yeah, no, that's it's exactly what, you go into court to get money. That's essentially what you do. And sometimes you go for injunctions and changes and stuff, but those don't happen very often. So, but I do have a second reason to be cheerful, and
Please do.
It happens to include Hobby Hero. One of my new hobby heroes now. Simply by the use of an emoji, I have determined that Jeff Wilson isn't such a bad guy after all.
We know him only as Geoff, and I will only refer to him as Geoff.
So, little context here. 70s Top Project is me. I have, as many people may know from watching my channel, a very large collection of autographed 70s Topps cards. It's over 400 now. So I have periodically, honestly, I will plead guilty to this. I have trolled Jeff on one meme and one meme alone, and that is Lewis Taint. And so I responded to this. Jeff put up this picture of all these cards from his store with the price tags on them. And honestly, I looked at the price tags and I know what a lot of these cards go for. And I had just come back from the Philly show where a lot of the price tags on these cards were a lot higher than what's on Jeff's price tag. So I said, prices are a lot better than the stickers I saw at Philly this weekend, which is 100% true. But I'm surprised to see no Lewis Taint cards, which was my little troll, little jab. And Jeff Wilson, generally speaking, never responds to any mention of Lewis Taint. But here he is with the laughing emoji. He actually thinks that it's funny that I said that. I think he probably liked the fact that I said his prices were good, but it was true. His prices are good on these cards. But he's leaning into the Lewis Taint meme, and good for him. And as you know, I don't know if he and his employee Tyler, otherwise known as Teapot, have talked about the fact that Teapot came on your show and on my show, not my show, but Hobby Hotline that I hosted that particular week, and had a good relationship with us. And I've messaged back and forth with him after that, and he's a good guy, and I like him, and I think he's smart, and he's good for the hobby. I wasn't really a big fan of his boss, but if Jeff is leaning into Lewis Taint, he's not that bad of a guy after all. So I'm softening on Jeff now. And so I think that's a reason to be cheerful, because trolling somebody just to have fun at their expenses can be fun sometimes, but having a joke that you can now get the guy to do a smiley face on or laughing emoji on is a good thing. So I am softening my position on Jeff, and that's a reason to be cheerful.
Wow. And they say we cannot achieve peace in our time. Damn.
Yeah. I'm kind of a man of peace too now, right?
We need a lot of work, Dan, to get you to man of peace. You got a long way to go to get to man of peace. And he will always be Geoff to me. Nothing else. And trolling for trolling's sake is an art form. It's a science. It's something to be proud of. I'm just saying, speaking from personal experience. But anyway, fair enough. That's Dan's second reason. So this time around, I've only got two. So, I already got a lot of mileage, and I kind of a bonus cheerful on the other one, to be perfectly honest. The Steve Hart story was kind of a semi-cheerful as well. So there's like a bonus there. So anyway, my second one was actually, believe it or not, this one is actually pertaining to a collecting pursuit. So let me explain. Wow. I know. I figured we'd do it just for a change of pace. So what the heck? So specifically, the satisfaction of a long-time want list item coming up on an eBay save search. So one of my big collecting things that I do in my collecting sphere is my Mike Modano collection. That's the one that I've been working on literally for 30 years. So for me, as a super, at this point, I would consider myself, I guess, a super collector of that with the sheer volume and quantity and quality and stuff. I have certain save searches for certain specific 90s tough cards that I'm looking for, because some of those ones just dried up years ago. Some of them I know where some of the copies are, and they're firmly entrenched in long-time collections. So they're kind of out of circulation. And with those ones, the comps don't work, because you can go like, okay, so when's the last time one of these sold? Oh, 8 years ago. Well, what does that mean? So what should be appropriate? So I actually had 2 separate save searches come up within about a week of each other, which was never has happened in a long time. And I was pleased to be able to purchase one through auction. The second one was a buy it now best offer. And I probably have set the record price for that one, more than I would have wanted to pay for it. And at a certain time in my collecting, I would have never thought I would have had to. But when I realized it had been probably the better part, I think there had been one maybe for sale in the last decade. I was like, all right, well, then I guess I'm going to have to pony up. That's how this is going to go. But it was still satisfying. Now I'm waiting for it to be in hand officially, Dan. But there is a certain satisfaction in the moment that I get that in hand. I will get to retire a save search that I have had for about a decade for that specific item. I will actually get to retire it, because once it's in my possession, it's off. So forget about scratching a want list. It's even the save search for it, gone off the list. One more. And that's a reason to be cheerful.
I've had, that is a reason to be cheerful. I've had some save searches that I satisfied and took them off. And that is a good feeling. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that I have a card here in a magnetic penny sleever holder, which was given to me gratis, because the penny sleever we're fans of the penny sleever.
Money penny sleever guy. I don't even know his name. Sorry, I don't know his name. Penny sleever guy.
Isaac.
Money. Come on. What are we doing here? Good Lord.
His name is Isaac, and Isaac is a nice man. And a good business. And he has
Isaac, this is a wallet. What goes inside the wallet is what I'm talking about right now. Inside the wallet. What goes in here is what I'm looking for. This is what we're trying to get at here.
So, reason to be cheerful number 3. My reason to be cheerful number 3 has been, in every episode, a shout out to one person. But we will eventually get there. But first, I want you to bring up on the screen something that I'm announcing. I'm making a major breaking news announcement.
Yep, I got it. Just bring it up here. So, folks,
I am introducing.
Folks doing the visual. Dan's gonna have to describe it to you for the audio folks. So here we go.
I am introducing today. I'm announcing a new sticker product for $20 each. You will be able to purchase, if your card meets the specifications, Dan's own appeal sticker. Now, why is this sticker valuable, and why would you pay for it? Because this sticker, the own appeal sticker, which represents a card that the appeal in it is that you own it. The appeal is not that it looks great, but that because the condition is so downgraded, you can afford it. So I'm telling you, if we get one of these Own Appeal stickers, and you can see it on the right if you're watching YouTube, you get one of these Own Appeal stickers on a card, I guarantee you that the card will become more affordable to you. And that is my guarantee to you with these stickers. And I'm willing to put them on any card that has Own Appeal. And as you can see here, Own Appeal is cards that have poor centering, rough corners, surface wear. These cards have been well loved and heavily played with, making them the bottom 1% of the market. Dan's expertise in mediocre grading guarantees you what you pay for. And there it is, barely certified by me. So I have announced the Own Appeal sticker. I think it's a major movement in the hobby. I expect to see them all over shows. And anytime
it is a movement. Dan, I co-sign that it is indeed a movement. Possibly a bowel one, but there is a movement there.
So you can take it off. The Own Appeal has made its mark, and how it changes the hobby. It's going to change the hobby big time. All the cards are going to go down in price now because of
maybe you should get Big Bride to really talk it up. He could be he could tell everybody how it's going to be the biggest thing in history.
I think so. I think it'll be the biggest thing. Maybe I'll bring Brian on this, and Brian can tell us exactly what he thinks of it. But
he's already got expertise from being a hype man.
I should say that presentation of the eye appeal was not prepared by me. It was prepared by a person who I want to shout out and who both of us, I think, are big fans of. And his name is Brendan Ryan. And Brendan Ryan has a IG page, IG account, whatever.
It's an Instagram page. Instagram page, I think, is fair.
Yeah. Where he shows off AI created, like, I guess there would be comic books of people in the hobby. You and I have both been part of that. I've been on it multiple times now. And one of them was so good that I now use it as the avatar on my, there we go. He's got Mike with the Hobby Revolt. And
that's before Neo took over the Revolt.
He's got you winning an award, and he's got everybody. He's these are all fantastic. There's John Wade Boggs fan with Wade Boggs in I guess a cryo whatever. There's you and I together.
Yep.
And then there's one that I used as the avatar for my YouTube channel. And I asked Brendan, he said, sure, go ahead. And there you go.
Yeah,
so my shout out to Brendan Ryan.
So you can all see.
I said to him, this is what I want to do for the show. I want to do an Own Appeal sticker, and can you do it for me? And about an hour later, he sent it to me, and there it was. So shout out to Brendan Ryan, who also is a good chatter. I know he comes into your live, your Friday night, whatever it is.
Oh,
so that's it. That's my reason to be cheerful, that Brendan Ryan exists, and that he gave me the Own Appeal sticker, and that now it's going to change the hobby.
That right there is exciting.
$20 a piece. That's all. $20 each.
I haven't been this excited since the Mike Baker sticker made its debut.
And I have no bad history in the hobby, so I have more credibility than most, I think. I haven't cheated anyone.
That boat speaks well of you, and is also a tremendously low bar. The longer you're in the hobby, the more your credibility goes in the tank. It's like, why are you here? Why? I ask myself that question all the time.
I should say that Cardboard Cynics 5, which was on my channel, started out a little slow, but it's picked up. I did a video this week on Saturday, actually. So it's what's today? Thursday. So yeah, it's almost a week ago. It was a SGC reveal, and believe it or not, it's almost 2,000 views. And it has gotten more views to more things on the channel, and the views to Cardboard Cynics 5 picked up, and it's nice. We got a lot of. You want to go and check out the comments on it?
So
Talk
yeah,
a
I
little
think
bit
I
about
can.
the comic.
I can grab some comments on the last one. And one thing I'll
Yeah.
just quickly remind, just in the same vein as what I did at the beginning of the episode. So I'm going to try to make sure I incorporate this into future episodes because, again, what I was talking about earlier, a lot of it is really going to be helped the most by people if you do enjoy it, if you can share it with other people. Because right now, when it comes to subscriptions, it doesn't always share things with you. So I want to kind of emphasize to everybody, if you do catch things you like, feel free to share with others because that's the best way to ensure that it actually gets communicated. Because otherwise, folks will be like, "Hey, I didn't catch that video." It's like, well, it was there, but unfortunately, YouTube isn't always providing it to everybody. Unfortunately. So let me see here if I can grab the last episode. And let me see if I can find some comments. I'll sort it by newest just so we can get it in there. Let's see. Let's see if there's something good here. Let me see. I did enjoy eBay was in here. Watching out of order. Love the new channel photo. I would say O'Leary looked like an ass with dollar signs, but the asses would sue me for libel. Well, putting in the dollar signs protects you, I think. He pumped up that announcement that he had a 52 tops, PSA 10 52 top set. All he had was the card already and Logan Paul's leftover necklace. Regarding Carlos, I haven't heard this much talk about Kazoo Parade since an episode of Garfunkel and Oates. Thumbs up. Appreciate you. Mangini was here 10 minutes in, and my impression is the best episode yet. Truth! Exclamation point. The Sports Card Dad. All the hobby luminaries are here. Good God, Dan,
Yeah.
if you're going to tag me that I'm going to watch, I need a timestamp. You never give him a timestamp. You make him work for it. He gets no timestamps. Ever. I've told this in the past. It's like, no. You got 5,057 sponsors. You can use a sponsor to use some AI and go look it up yourself. You're getting no timestamps. No timestamps for you.
Am I correct that he hasn't actually computed his Hall of Fame 2.0?
No, he did. He threw it at the end of the last video. Somebody is technically. I think Silver Sport will be the recipient of the bowling pin.
Sounds fixed.
I was so here's the funny thing, Dan. He used AI to count the votes. I will say, yeah, he literally explained it on there. But and by the way, Dan, he was disqualified from his own thing. He literally said it in the video. So not voting for him, he wasn't on his own list. He wasn't going to appear. Like it wasn't there. So anyway, my channel was in the top 6. So, and there were actually a couple of ones that were clustered. They're actually pretty close together. I might actually hold on. I might actually have, because I took a screenshot of it because it just made me laugh when I saw it. I'll see if I have it. If I do, I'll share it. But the bottom line was that when they did it, actually it was very top heavy, and then a bunch of them were almost within a little bits of each other. But again, he stuck it at the end of a video, so most people didn't even know it was there. And then the results he stuck at the end of a video, basically too. Almost the same idea. So I was like, well, no one's going to see anything if you stick it at the end of a video. It's not going to make any difference. All right, I got it here. Hold on. I can share it on the screen. And again, no timestamps. So y'all don't do any timestamping. It's cheating. The whole point is to make the people watch. If you're going to do it, watch the whole thing. All right, so hold on here. I got it. So I can share part of it. Yeah, we're going to have to make people find it on their own. All right, so here we go. So here is a little list, because you can see, like, based on this, you can actually tell that they used AI to kind of compile this. So Silver Sports got 32, the score of 32. So the score part is how you can tell the AI did the work for him. Neo literally just says Neo with small letters. 23. Flippin' Steve 19. Noma Sports Cards, never heard of them. 16. High Society Trading, because I'm Carlos, is here with 12. 9 of those were from one vote. See, and if I had known he was going to be this close, then I should have just voted for myself, and I could have propelled myself into the top 3. Could have just done that. RGL Run Good Life. Chasing Cardboard only got 11. So I'm ahead of Chasing Cardboard. I'm ahead of Run Good Life. I'm ahead of Baseball Card Collector Dealer, as it should be in all things. Letting y'all know. Ahead of Sports Card Investor, ahead of King of Cards, Striker Breaks, and Western New York Cards, and then there are more people underneath. But those are like the top 13.
So Dustin didn't compute his own votes? Is that right?
At the very beginning of the video, Dan, in the video where you voted, he explicitly said he recused himself from the vote. So, like, it wouldn't matter. Right. I think there were folks with there were folks that ended with negative, though. Like, he actually scrolled down. There were folks that finished in negatives.
You're making me go watch Dustin's channel.
Sorry. If you want to find out the negatives, you're going to have to look that up yourself. And I'm not linking to the video. Y'all can do that on your own. So Dylan, Double D Cards here says, response video up. Oh, that was the one where he said he was going to do response video. Great stuff as always. Carlos, you bring the no doubters and level-headed responses. One last thing. I have no problem with Kevin O'Leary wearing a necklace card. I don't have to live with him in the hobby. He has to live with himself. Also, that card could very well sell for 20 million, as you said, Carlos, but it's funny he keeps upping the price. And Hoj actually had to answer for that. He was actually, he was like, it's not like a real no. It's like, well, then stop putting it on there. It's always been there for that. Let me scroll through here. Shoebox Legend here says, first time watching Cardboard Cynics, and I have to say I'm a fan. There's plenty to be cynical about these days, and it was a nice balance to the rest of the content in my feed. I enjoyed the conversation, guys, and we'll certainly be back for more, which is good. Let me see here. Oh, I like this one. The record person says, every time somebody types in grading is a scam in the comment section, I imagine them nodding and whispering, somebody has to say it to themselves. I actually picture that too.
I think that was the first comment on that.
It was one of them. It was very close. 35 Auburn is right there with him as well. Another fun video. Totally agree with your NBA take. It's garbage run by multiple bad actors. Brent Hudgens, PWCC is also an owner, which is true. Actually, I forgot about that piece. That's good. Is a recap of the YouTube Awards. Curious to see the results. And then, yes. Yep. So a couple different comments. I wanted to feature and highlight a few specific ones. You're more than welcome. If in the comment section you do it this time, if we got a little time at the end, I'll throw it in there and go through a couple of comments. But we appreciate the engagement either way. And again, if you enjoyed what we're doing here, I'll try to have the audio version. So on my channel, what I'm going to do, Dan, is since I've got some time tonight, I'm going to try to have this one up on Friday in the lead in to the live. So that should be fun. And I actually got a card in the mail. So I'll actually have a mail day this week. So that's exciting. And my intention will be to include it. It'll be in both playlists. I'll have one and Dan will have one. And then also probably before the end of the weekend, I'll try to have the audio one. So audio folks, we'll get to you. I try to make sure I have it within a couple of days. But if you want to get it right on time, then check out the YouTube channel, the corresponding YouTube channel, or one of the playlists. That is the best way to get it right on time as it's being released. Aside from that, that'll conclude this video. So check out more videos on the channel. Friday live stream on my channel. Longest running episodic, whatever it is, we don't know. Dan's Vintage Baseball has made appearances, sometimes as a man of peace, and sometimes to engage in civil war. We never know what we're going to get. We just don't know. Regardless, you can know and have complete confidence that no matter what happens, Eric will pay for the like button. So I guarantee that. That is a thing. Thank you very much. Episode 6 in the books. We'll catch you in the next one.